The Boston Celtics. Geoff, it's time we talk about the Celtics. I know some people are bored with how consistently dominant they are. And that's what we're here for, because we could never find such high-level basketball boring. And especially from my perspective, what I have started to call the Boston Celtics hyper-modern strategy. And that strategy that I described really revolves around the fact that the Boston Celtics currently take 52.4% of their shots from behind the three-point line. This is way up from 43.7% last year. No team, Geoff, has ever had more than half of their shots come from three. But I really think that the confusion that a lot of people have is that they're not just jacking up threes. That's what you hear. That's a lot of the narrative. Oh, the NBA is broken and this is why ratings are down. It's just teams jacking up threes. That is not why the Boston Celtics are taking over half of their shots from the three-point line. It is the philosophy behind why they take those threes, how they get to those threes. At the end of the day, I think, in my analysis of this Celtics team and Joe Mazzulla and his approach, the Celtics want to hunt matchups, but in an optimized way. They want to clear the paint of a rim protector. They want to maximize space and driving lanes to get to the basket. And when you try to stop them, they are going to make you pay with a three. That is the penalty. You will pay the price of an open three or a wide open three. And they have elite shooters all across the court almost at all times. So you will pay that penalty. That is what's going to happen. And in my opinion, it is sort of an idealized version of basketball in a way. They're consistently creating 2-on-1s, 1-on-1s with an advantage and space. Not 1-on-1s like the old days of we're going to go ISO and we're going to go 1-on-1. We're going to get to a mid-range shot. They're creating these 1-on-1s with an advantage, so a much better offensive player than a defensive player, and tons of space around that guy so they can drive to the hoop and get there with no rim protector. It is almost, like I said, an idealized form of basketball. And the guy this year who has been more essential than ever to making this all work at an effectively an unstoppable level is Jayson Tatum. I know you have a lot on Tatum. I do as well. Where do you want to go on JT?
Yeah, it has to start with Tatum. First of all, if you're new here, which probably Celtics fans who see this are, I am not normally in a setup like this. I'm on vacation. The quality on my end is usually better.
Good call.
Hopefully you can stick it through with us for the analysis only for this episode. And if you want to come back, the quality in terms of the graininess of the camera and maybe the sound a little bit it's always better. Anyways, got to start with Tatum. I think you could actually make an argument more than ever before for Tatum to be in the MVP conversation. And I want to be clear. I was someone who watching the playoffs last year was married to the data in terms of Tatum being kind of an underwhelming best player on a championship team. I actually don't think he was the best player throughout the playoffs. I think that's pretty evident. I think Derrick White was the team's best player on that playoff run. We'll talk more about him in a bit too. But all throughout the playoffs, Celtics fans would say, well, you don't understand, like, it's not about the output, it's about what Tatum does as the head of the engine and what he creates for other players. And to be honest, watching those games, while of course there was some of that, I didn't see it at an overwhelming enough rate to make up for the relatively poor output. This season, that has absolutely been the case. And so we're going to talk about the data that backs up the perspective that Tatum is in the MVP conversation. And then I want to talk a little bit about how he profiles and how that elevates his teammates. So first of all, Tatum is just playing the best basketball of his life right now. And that is without shooting super hot from three, shooting 35% from three on high volume and probably a tough volume because he has to self-create more than any other Celtic on the team. He probably can shoot a little bit better. I'm not sure how much better with this shot quality, but I'm just saying that his overall impact is not being completely carried by unsustainable shooting. He's shooting a very reasonable number. He has a career high assist percentage. He has a career low attempts from the mid-range. He's being assisted as infrequently as he ever has. This is just a full-on offensive machine who also is playing the best defense of his career. And that's really where I want to start with how he profiles and how important that is to the Celtics as a whole. Because I was thinking about it when preparing for this episode. I was thinking about how we said last season we've never seen a team as synergistic as the Celtics starting five. Drew Holiday, Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis. From a synergy standpoint, it is almost perfect. It is an incredible team. You go into this year, that synergy is still there, but from an output standpoint, there have started to be some cracks. Porzingis just got back from injury. Jaylen Brown is honestly having, at least the start to the season, one of the worst seasons of his entire career. Worst true shooting percentage since he was a rookie. Worst defensive EPM. Second lowest defensive LeBron. Look, Jaylen Brown's a really good player. I'm just saying it's been a slow start. And Drew Holiday, 34 years old. I don't know if he's taken a step back overall or if it's just his 3-point percentage going from 42% to 33%. I think most reasonable people would agree that 42% was on the high end for him and that was going to regress. But in spite of that, the Celtics are 21-5. How are they able to do this? Because Tatum's skill and versatility puts all these other players in positions to theoretically be the best versions of themselves. So you have Derrick White. Derrick White is having another all-star season. But what would Derrick White be asked to do on both sides of the ball if Jayson Tatum wasn't Jayson Tatum? I think he'd be asked to run more pick and roll to create more offense. I think you'd see his overall impact dip a little bit if Tatum wasn't Tatum. What would a guy like Porzingis be asked to do? I think Porzingis wouldn't get a pass for being, he initiates some offense from the mid-post, but they're mostly able to leverage his shooting and his spacing. That's where his offensive impact comes from on this team. If Jayson Tatum wasn't Jayson Tatum, I think Porzingis' responsibility was a little bit bigger. You go to the other side of the court. Why are they able to be an elite defense despite being a relatively small team? Okay, it starts with Drew Holiday and Derrick White at the point of attack. These two guys are amazing guard defenders, but they're still pretty small. And you have Jayson Tatum on the wing, who's switchable on the perimeter, who also provides good rim protection at the power forward position for a 6'8" guy. Jayson Tatum does so many things for this team, and I think he really, really drives winning at an elite level. And I think you could make the case that he is, besides Jokic, he's in that MVP conversation with SGA and with Luka.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think that this works this year for the Celtics without Tatum or with another player instead of Tatum. Like, I think he is shown now, and to me, it really comes from actually tangible improvements that Tatum has made, at least when it comes to offensively, because the Celtics offense is about, when it comes down to it, like I said, really about exploiting matchups. They don't really actually want to run pick and rolls that much. They're not very high in pick and roll frequency. Tatum is third in the NBA in isolation frequency, but still 88th percentile in efficiency out of those isolations. Really on the back of easily his best finishing season of his career. And it is for Tatum an insane mix of, dexterity, quickness, size, and force. He is almost playing this year like a smaller, but like a way more skilled and craftier Giannis at times. If you watch Tatum kind of every night, he is bullying his way to the rim. He is able to finish over smaller guys. He's able to finish over late, coming rim protectors. If he gets the matchup that he wants this year, there's almost nothing you can do. It's the classic, blow by a bigger player and overpower a smaller player for Jayson Tatum. And you cannot give him room because, as you mentioned, when it comes to pull-up shooting, he is one of the best pull-up three-point shooters in the entire league. You cannot stop Jayson Tatum right now. He can do anything he wants. When you want to bring help, guess what? Their spacing is so perfect that you're giving up an open three or a wide open three every single time. And the Celtics, with how they run their offense, they create and maintain advantages better than any team I could even think of. And it's not even with pace. It's just methodical. It is about getting that matchup that you want. Typically starts from Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And it's about exploiting that matchup. It's about showing that no one can guard Jayson Tatum one-on-one at this point in time. They just really can't. And I don't think he's ever really gotten this credit as an elite isolation scorer. Maybe he's floated in and out of that conversation. Right now, I think he and SGA, those are the two best. Kyrie maybe up there. Luka, we know, will be up there at some point, but he hasn't been so far this season. I think Tatum is up there with the best in the world at scoring and isolation because he gets the matchup that he wants. He's too big. He's too strong. His finishing's better. He doesn't settle as much. His three-point shooting sharper. He shoots from depth. And when he gets to the rim, he finishes over pretty much anyone. And guess what? There's no rim protector there. And he has tons of space and wide driving lanes to attack. When you put that combination together with Jayson Tatum's skill improvement, at his age, coming into the prime of his career, both physically and in terms of his skill ability, this is a perfect storm for Tatum to be unstoppable and for the Celtics to be where they are right now.
Yeah, we joked a few episodes ago, might have even been last episode, 2 episodes ago, but whatever, about why the Warriors in 2016, 2017 getting Kevin Durant was so unfair, because they had this perfect offense already. And then it was like, okay, but in the 2016 finals, LeBron and Ty Lue sort of found an answer to all the movement, all the motion offense. They had figured out all the cutting, and the Warriors were like, okay, we're going to take this offense that absolutely dismantles teams in a vacuum, and we're going to add the best one-on-one scorer to it so that if you have an answer to our motion offense, we can just give it to Kevin Durant, and there's our plan B. The Celtics have kind of naturally built quite a similar system in that they have this amazing team offense where the ball never sticks. You made so many good points, but that was one thing you didn't mention about their advantage creation. There's nobody in their rotation where the ball stops. The ball never stops. When they have an advantage, they are looking to shoot or pass. It is always on the move. It's almost like Missoula is like, dude, if you stop the ball, you're not going back in the game. Like you better maintain this advantage that we've created. And that is such a key part to their offense. And now the Celtics, with Tatum playing this way, if your offense is crossing its T's and it's really, really playing well, they now have Jayson Tatum who can go one-on-one against anybody as a plan B. And so this is the best team in the league, the second best team in the league. I think it has the highest ceiling in the league still, maybe. It's them in OKC right now. They're just playing at a remarkable rate. And again, Tatum is just front and center there.
Yeah, and I think the one place I would slightly disagree is that I think in many cases Tatum one-on-one is plan A. Like Tatum attacking a mismatch or someone he has a real clear advantage over is where they want to start, because that starts the advantage. He starts the possession with an advantage, with space and with no rim protector oftentimes, especially if Horford is in or if Porzingis is in, and he's getting downhill, and you will have to stop. You will have to bring help because he's going to finish. He's finishing at a 70% percentage at the rim, or he's going to pull up for a three, and his pull-up shooting has been elite, especially from depth. And so that is really high-level offense. The guy is averaging 1.14 points per possession in isolation. That is absurd. That's an absurd number. If you're not familiar, 1.14 points per possession in isolation is sort of unheard of. I don't think he'll be able to keep it up for an entire season because that's ridiculous, but he has been unstoppable. And that is oftentimes where the matchups, the advantage starts. And then, like you said, when he swings it to someone else, you're not stopping the ball. You're swinging the ball, you're shooting, you're maintaining the advantage, or you're getting the shot up. And the Celtics maintain those advantages better. Like I said, better than anyone almost I've ever seen. And that's what makes their offense so unstoppable. The guy who they swing the ball to most often that's going to cash in is Derrick White. The aforementioned Derrick White. I love to talk about Derrick White. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. Always has been and has become even more so recently when he suddenly became one of the elite three-point shooters in the world, which came out of nowhere. He got robbed of an all-star game appearance last year. Although I will say, I don't think Celtics fans can be that upset because they got gifted a sixth man of the year before with Malcolm Brogdon. Wow. So
Celtics fans were going to be super happy listening to this episode. You had to go bring that up.
I got to keep it real. But I will say, Derrick White should have absolutely been an all-star last year. This year he's an all NBA level player. And if he continues what he's doing, he should make third team All-NBA, could squeak into second team All-NBA, but he's up there. He's easily an all-star. Like I said, the guy has somehow turned into one of the very best spot-up three-point shooters in the entire league with elite range. Out of nowhere, he was not a range shooter before 28, Geoff. he was not shooting from depth before 28, and he was like an okay shooter. Now he's one of the best in the world and one of the best from elite range. I don't know how he did that. It's really unclear to me. I definitely think he always had shooting talent, but this time he's really put it all together. On open threes, he's going to make everything, and he even makes contested catch and shoot threes. Just one of the best in the league. Obviously, we know what he does defensively, and he maybe has been a slight tick down defensively from some of his elite peak seasons, but he's still up there as one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, one of the best block shots guards in the league, one of the best screen navigators, and making it difficult for you to shoot as he's trailing you over a screen. He just does everything for you off the ball, and can also do a lot on the ball, and can attack and pick and rolls, can attack in isolation if the adequate space is there. So Derrick White does everything for them, and I think it's clearly their second most important and second best player on the team.
Yeah, we talked about how the Celtics are able to play relatively small with just Porzingis really as their lone big. Tatum obviously drives that. White's rim protection is important too, and what he does at the point of attack is really important too. He's in the 95th percentile, actually, in offensive impact, putting him ahead of guys like Tyrese Halliburton, Cam Thomas, Ja Morant, Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant. He's ahead of those guys in EPM's offensive impact, and he's like, like what? And he's one of the, it doesn't make any sense. Like he's way better at defense than all those guys. Obviously, role plays a hand in that. Obviously, team construct, but you can't. Here's the thing, and I get frustrated with people at this all the time. For every Celtic, the answer is always, oh, well, they wouldn't do this if they were on another team. They're on a loaded team. Somebody has to be responsible for it. They can't all be the benefit of their sick teammates. You can't say, oh, well, Jayson Tatum's only sick because of his sick teammates. Derrick White's only sick because of their sick teammates. Who are the sick teammates then? One of them has to be the sick teammate that you're talking about. Who, XJ? Who are they? It's Derrick White and Jayson Tatum. They are the foundation. We have to throw Kristaps Porzingis in there, I think, because White and Tatum are an amazing 1-4 combination, but it gets put over the top when you have a center who's as elite at shooting, it goes from, oh, this is a team that's going to be really good defense, that's going to have a really good offense, to there's just nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do when Porzingis is dragging the center out of the paint. You have to switch everything. You know, we saw opening night what happens when you don't switch. Like the Celtics are going to create an advantage, and they're going to maintain that advantage. They're going to create good shot after good shot after good shot. The only semblance of hope you have is to switch everything. And even when you switch everything, okay, well, very few teams have guards that are big enough to handle Derrick White one-on-one. He's bigger than you. Very few teams have and then can pair them with wing defenders that can guard Jayson Tatum one-on-one. It's really hard. And even if you do have those things, even if you're a team like the Timberwolves, who has Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert, who are all really, really good defenders, the Celtics can just be like, okay, you want to play a rock fight? We'll just turn around and allow fewer points versus you because our defense is elite too. We said it at the start of last season, their five is the most synergistic we've ever seen. This has a chance to be one of the best teams we've ever seen, and they're maintaining that. If they keep this up, 21-5, elite net rating, roll through the regular season, and what if they go back to back? This all of a sudden they verify what they did last season, and they enter some all-time conversations. This is an elite team.
Yeah, and it's someone we have to bring up as part of that contingent. Kind of the last person that I wanted to talk about here is like we said, we've seen a little bit of a downturn from Drew Holiday, and really I think it comes down to his shooting. He's doing a lot of really good stuff in isolation as well, actually, surprisingly potentially, but he's been playing well overall, but just not anywhere near the level that he was last year. I think largely because of his shooting. Someone who's made up for a lot of that slack is Payton Pritchard. Payton Pritchard, I think it would shock people to know that in terms of his offensive impact, this guy is in the 97th percentile in offensive impact in the entire NBA. That, I think, if you're a Celtics fan, you're aware of Payton Pritchard's ridiculous impact, how amazing he's been on the offensive end of the ball. I think if you're not a Celtics fan, you don't realize that Payton Pritchard has the same offensive impact for per EPM as Jayson Tatum. And that is obviously they have completely different roles, but that is in large part because Payton Pritchard doesn't miss shots. So I don't know if you if you realize that, Geoff, but Payton Pritchard has just like made some kind of deal with the devil where the deal is that he doesn't miss. The guy's shooting 44% from three and 61% from the mid range. Obviously, doesn't take a ton from the mid range. Also finishes extremely well at the rim, 69%. He just doesn't miss shots. He's just so good, and he's gotten so much better in terms of every skill aspect that he can bring to the ball. His creation on the ball, his pick and roll ability, to man the pick and roll and to make passes out of the pick and roll. He's been excellent everywhere and has done a lot of the sort of Derrick White, Jayson Tatum sort of duties, maybe at a lower level than either of those guys, but is able to do a lot of what both of those players do. And I think it's been really incredible. I don't think this is something that will maintain, but I think he's going to continue to be a key part of their offense and a key reason why they're as good as they have been, despite getting a little bit of a back turn from Jrue Holiday.
Every time we discuss the Celtics, I just think of the Aaron Paul Breaking Bad gif. They can't keep getting away with this. I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, you brought up the shooting percentage, the 3-point, how he just never misses. He's in the 98th percentile in efficiency from the mid-range. He's shooting 43.5% from three. Actually, he's averaging over 11 threes per 75.
Yeah.
You can't combine that level of volume with efficiency. That's impossible. That's Steph Curry-like. I don't understand. And by the way, people probably look at Payton Pritchard and they're like, oh, well, he gives it back on defense. He's fine defensively. They have these guys off the bench, him and Hauser, and Horford. Obviously, we know how important Horford still remains in terms of maintaining their system. Of course, he's not Porzingis, but Horford is a willing three-point shooter who's a good defender. He remains probably their best Giannis stopper. He was drafted in 2007. And 2024, 2025, he is the best answer that they have on one of the best players in the world in his absolute prime. It's silly. They have these three guys off the bench who are willing three-point shooters, in Pritchard's case, an elite three-point shooter, and they're not pushovers defensively either. I don't know what to do with this team besides just keep harping on this is an elite team that is somehow getting slept on. It's like
they are getting slept on.
It's almost like the world is waiting for them to fail. It's like they had, and I'm sorry to say this, Celtics fans, if you've made it this far, I'm sure it's going to piss you off. I'm sure you've heard this way too much. They had a very easy path to a championship last season, given opponents and given injuries. The Celtics are naturally, they're just not they're really popular with the people who like them, but I think, they're just one of those teams that if you don't like them, you really don't like them. So those people were looking for a reason to not give them credit for their championship, even though they were undoubtedly dominant and the best team last season. It feels like the world is waiting for them to fail. I don't know. I just don't see it.
I don't see it happening. I mean, to me, they're easily the best team in the East. I know they have the second best record. I think they're better than the Cavs, just like on a real basis. I don't think the Cavs can compete with this team to that extent. And, unless we see something crazy, I mean, I expect Jaylen Brown to be better moving forward, and I expect Jrue Holiday potentially be better moving forward. So this is going to be a problem for everybody. If you're waiting for this team to fall off, yeah, I don't know if maybe you might not want to watch basketball for a couple years. But I think that is
Tatum too. Yeah, Tatum is having the best season of his career. Did you know even that he's shooting worse from the mid range than he ever has in his life? That's going to get better.
Yeah, and it doesn't even really matter because of how they clear out rim protectors at such a ridiculous rate, at a better rate than anybody else in the league, that he kind of takes those shots when you're talking about plan B. That's like the plan C of the possession. Let's get Tatum can get to his ISO bag and get something in the mid range. They don't ever want that, and they don't have to do it very often. It's very rare. And so what they do, what their plan A and plan Bs are it's not really stoppable. But yeah, that'll do it for us. Fun talking about the Celtics. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. We talk about all 30 NBA teams, and we try to dive in at a really deep level like we did with the Celtics here. And we have a lot more NBA conversation coming up for the rest of the season and some cool stuff that we're doing besides just podcasts. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And for Geoff, I'm XJ, and this has been Hot Hand Theory.